From the Detroit Free Press in the heart of the Motor City, it's Thursday, September 10th. Here are today's top stories. Presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Bush's has over 4,000 Michigan products, including the freshest fruit and vegetables, meat, seafood, and baked goods. Stop by one of Bush's 16 locations for the personal service you expect from your neighborhood grocer.
I'm Dave Boucher with the Detroit Free Press. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden came to Michigan on Wednesday to discuss a new plan aimed at increasing American manufacturing jobs. But revelations from a new book on President Donald Trump caused the former vice president to call his opponent's actions beyond despicable. In veteran journalist Bob Woodward's new book, Trump acknowledges understating the severity of the coronavirus pandemic earlier this year, while publicly downplaying it to avoid mass panic. Trump's tape-recorded comments to Woodward drew harsh criticism from Biden.
We just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was. Now, while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
Speaking from a UAW hall in Warren, Biden said the president's handling of the coronavirus also crippled the U.S. economy, requiring government efforts to jumpstart manufacturing and other sectors. Biden announced several initiatives that he said would offer tax incentives to companies that bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. and penalize companies looking to build products abroad before attempting to sell them domestically. He also proposed several orders that could potentially require federal government contractors to use U.S.-made steel and other products. President Donald Trump will have his say Thursday when he travels to Freeland for a campaign rally.
This is Brian McCollum, music writer with the Detroit Free Press. New details emerged Wednesday in the case involving an April home invasion at Eminem's Clinton Township house. Defendant Matthew David Hughes, who's been in custody since the incident, was in Macomb County Court for a preliminary hearing. According to a police officer's testimony, the rapper-born Marshall Mathers said he was awakened to find Hughes standing behind him. Eminem initially thought it was his nephew, then realized it was a stranger. Confused, Eminem asked why he was there, and Hughes responded he was there to kill him, the officer said, relaying the rapper's account of events. The defendant allegedly entered Eminem's house by smashing a door window with a paving stone. Another detective said surveillance footage showed Hughes roaming the rapper's property for quite some time before breaking in. A Macomb Circuit judge found probable cause and bound Hughes over for a trial. An arraignment is scheduled in Circuit Court September 28th. The judge also declined a request to reduce Hughes' $50,000 bond. Hughes had turned down a requested competency evaluation earlier this summer. His court-appointed lawyer said after Wednesday's proceeding he thinks his client suffers from psychological issues.
I'm Frank Witzel with the Detroit Free Press. Someday, when Nolan Kent Rogers is old enough, he'll be able to tell people how, as a baby, he was so eager to enter the world that his poor mom had to give birth to him on Labor Day weekend on the side of the interstate. It's a story that has plenty of puns, explains where his middle name came from, and has a happy ending. Alan Hamilton, one of the EMTs who was there, recounted the labor in progress call just before 2 p.m. Sunday. When Hamilton and his EMT partner arrived, they found a gray Lincoln SUV on the shoulder of I-96 near Kent Lake Road. The EMTs cut the umbilical cord, wrapped a 6-pound 9-inch baby Nolan in a foil blanket. Later, Hamilton said the parents called him to report that the baby was doing well, and they decided to make his middle name Kent after one of the roads where he was born. Hamilton jokes that the delivery gives new meaning to Labor Day weekend.
Reporting for the Detroit Free Press, I'm Miriam Marini. With a slight crisp in the air, there's one thing on our minds, and that's Halloween. But in the middle of a pandemic, what could this holiday look like? As counties across the state wait to release directives, communities and organizations have already begun announcing Halloween programming. Luckily for lots of families, trick-or-treating shouldn't be affected too much, as it's done outside and is comparable to other outdoor activities like exercising. This is according to Dr. Jennifer Burgess of Henry Ford. As for keeping your little ones protected, Burgess recommends wearing face masks while approaching homes. For those wearing plastic face masks as part of their costumes, these essentially function as face shields, as long as they don't have openings near the mouth, Burgess said. Another precaution Burgess passed along is to let candy sit untouched for 24 hours and for parents to be on the lookout for any candies that appear to be opened. Burgess also cautions people to not use this opportunity to widen your social circle and to instead stick to those you've been interacting with. For more Halloween safety tips, visit thefreep.com.
This is Evan Petzold of the Free Press Sports Department. The Detroit Tigers entered Wednesday's game against the Milwaukee Brewers one game out of the American League's 8th and final spot in the expanded 16-team postseason. And while their loss didn't drastically alter their position with 19 games remaining, it was the way they lost that brought concerns. The 19-22 Tigers suffered a 19-0 loss, the worst margin of defeat in a shutout in franchise history. The previous worst was a 16-0 defeat to the St. Louis Browns on September 9th, 1922. At least they had 5 hits in that game. On Wednesday, they had just 2, both from shortstop Willie Castro. Left-handed starter Matthew Boyd gave up 7 runs and couldn't get out of the 4th inning. His replacement, right-hander John Schreiber, gave up 2 runs. Ronnie Garcia allowed 3 more, as did Kyle Funkhauser. Outfielder Travis Demeritte pitched in the 9th inning and gave up 4 more runs. 13 of the Brewers' 21 hits went for extra bases, 8 doubles and 5 home runs. Wednesday's loss was frustrating for a team in the middle of a playoff race. One day, the Tigers looked like they could be a dark horse in the postseason, as a squad built on grit and a never-quit attitude. Other days, like Wednesday, it's unclear if they deserve to be described as contenders. They couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch. And there was no way the Tigers, with 11 comebacks in 2020, were going to climb out of the hole they dug themselves in this time. That leaves one question, unanswerable for the time being. Who are these Tigers?
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, be sure to check out freep.com. That's FREEP.com. If you're a fan and want to support our quality local journalism, subscribe. Go to freep.com/special offer.